Hello there, and a very happy Monday to you. I hope you all had a wonderful weekend, and a little late on this, but happy Father's Day to all you dads out there as well. Hopefully you had a lovely Sunday as well. Sunday was really the best weather day out of the entire weekend. The rest was a little cold and cloudy and a little rainy, but tonight has been beautiful, Joe. 80 degrees out there, and it's been dry. That might not be the case for the rest of the week, though, right?
Yeah, I mean, there are chances for showers and some thunderstorms through the course of the week, even into next weekend at times. But I want to point out, when you look at the 7-day, it might look like, oh, we have a lot of rain, and there is going to be some, but there'll be a lot of dry time too. So it's not going to rain the entire week. But there is one day this week where rain is much more likely for kind of everybody. We'll look at that. And I know you're one of those summer lovers that loves hot weather.
Yes.
And that is on the horizon. It looks like maybe a little mini heat wave, perhaps, coming in near the end of the forecast. So we'll take a look at that, too, coming up in about 15 minutes.
All right, looking forward to it, Joe. Thank you so much. Our top story tonight, some encouraging news for the tight housing market in Emmet County. 3 new housing complexes are currently under construction and will be open this fall. Our Mary Jane Glynn takes a look at the projects and a look at the potential impact in the community.
Right now, we are at 0.2% rental occupancy in Petoskey area and Emmet County, which means that if you're looking for a place to live, if you're a worker moving to the area or you're trying to relocate, it's a really difficult thing to do when there are no availabilities.
The problem is not a new one, and the demand for housing continues to climb year after year.
Currently, there's very long wait times for the apartments that are currently available. And so sometimes the timing of those things create a challenge for people. So with the new housing initiatives that are coming online, that's only going to help us to bring, not only keep people in the area, but also bring top talent from across the state, across the country to Northern Michigan.
David says it took a lot of work and collaboration with state and local partners to make this happen.
One of the biggest things that we talk about with the one project, the block, is the fact that it was the first project in Michigan to use the new housing increment financing. And by doing that, it's allowed us to leverage different tools in our toolbox to make sure that we're being fair to developers, but also fair to our communities and putting housing on the market that is right for the needs of the individuals in the market.
David says all 3 housing projects are different. The Lofts at Lumber Square has 60 units with rent estimated between $1,200 and $1,600 a month. The block has 204 units. Half are estimated to have rents between $1,200 and $1,600 a month, and the other half will go for market rate. The third development is a project by the Little Traverse Bay Band of Ottawa Indians. It's workforce housing with rental estimates between $600 and $1,000 a month based on income. 8 of those units have been set aside for tribal members only.
One of the biggest points to understand is for Petoskey area, we haven't had a multi-unit housing development in almost 20 years. So that's a long time to go without any housing. And if we're looking at the numbers, Emmet County needs just about 3,300 units of housing, and over 880 of those are rental units. So as excited as we are for 314 units to be coming online, they're the first of their kind in 20 years, and we still have a long way to go.
In Emmet County, Mary Jane Glynn, UpNorthLive News.
And you heard a brief overview of those 3 projects from Nikki Devitt, the president and CEO of the Petoskey Chamber. But we're going to go into a little more detail with Nikki. She is joining us live now. Hi, Nikki. Thank you so much for coming on Unscripted tonight.
Well, hello. Thank you so much for having me.
So as I mentioned, I do want to get some more details on each of the projects, but something that really stood out to me about the story that we just heard from our reporter Mary Jane was that it has been 20 years since Petoskey has seen a new multi-use housing development. Why is that the case when we know that housing has been such a big issue for so long? Why has it taken 20 years to get here?
Well, I think first and foremost, what people have to understand is it takes time, one, to assess need and recognize need. It's been just about the last 10 years or so that the Chamber, community foundations, cities, the counties, everybody's kind of come together and said, we have a workforce housing crisis on our hands. And what that looks like for different people takes time to kind of explain what it is and how we get to resolving that issue. Zoning is also a critical issue that faces a lot of rural communities. growth responsibly is not the easiest thing to do. So you have to be really thoughtful about it and plan out how you're going to approach it in the right way for your own individual communities. So we had those issues at hand, but then also it takes time. The wonderful projects that we were just talking about, these three fantastic projects that are going to bring over 300 units online between fall and spring, that all started well over 5 years ago. So from a development standpoint, just because we say we want housing, it doesn't mean that it happens in the blink of an eye.
Right. Okay, so let's talk a little more about each of the three projects because they are a little different. So let's start with whatever you consider maybe project one.
I think project one has to start with Lofts at Lumber Square. It's the one that has been in the works, I wouldn't say the longest, but has had some of the bigger hurdles to overcome. And Lofts is also one of those that hits what we like to call that workforce housing completely. So it's hard sometimes to explain where rental incomes or rental costs are going to come up in relation to somebody's income. A lot of times you'll hear people say AMI, so that's the area median income. And percentages of that determine what a rental unit should be. So Lofts, for instance, of the 60 units, all of them will be between 80 and 120% AMI. So that essentially means that for a single person, their AMI should be 63,000 for the area median income. A family of four is about 90,000. So you take percentage of that and say, well, what is a good housing cost? And a good housing cost, you shouldn't be spending any more than 30% of your income on your rent or mortgage payment. So Lofts took that and said, okay, this is where we're going. We're going for that 80 to 120, which essentially is that $1,200 to $1,600 range, depending on if it's a 1, 2, or 3 bedroom and depending on your family size. And Lofts had the really good fortune of working with the Petoskey Harbor Springs Area Community Foundation, with the city, with MSHDA, so that's State Housing Development Authority, as well as Northern Homes, who's property management now. So lots of layers to Lofts, and it's also one of the closest to downtown, so it makes it extremely walkable for that downtown workforce, if you would.
And how about the next project?
Next project is The Block. And so The Block is, for those who are familiar with Petoskey at all, Michigan Maple Block, where that used to be is now under construction for The Block. That's 204 units. And that is, as I mentioned, the first MSHDA affordable housing tax increment financing in the state. Fancy word for a housing tool that allows us to lend more, do more, and make it more accessible for our developers. But it takes a municipality to get behind it, which the city of Petoskey did. That's another one that has what we like to call a huge capital stack. And that's going to be studio and 1 and 2 bedrooms. What's really exciting about that project is half the units are going to be that workforce housing, so under 120% AMI, and then the other half are going to be market rate. And also that project is going to have a bike and walking trail that connects it to downtown Petoskey in the future, and then hopefully eventually a pedestrian bridge over the Bear River connecting it to the North Country Trail. So it's a big chunk of units, but it also spreads it out based on income too, so that allows us to have diverse options for the community.
And last but not least, the third project.
Last but certainly not least is Victory's Apartments. So that is the Little Traverse Bay Bands of Odawa Indians project. So their economic development arm, which is OEDMI, if I'm saying that right, they were able to attain LIHTC, which is a low income housing tax credit. What's so special about this project is that is targeting that lower income, under 80% AMI, so 30%, 40% AMI, which means rents are going to start anywhere from, $500, $600, maybe even a little bit less, depending on where you fall in that structure for a studio 1 or 2 bedroom. And water, sewer, trash are included in that. This is really targeted to that missing space that we see in our community so often. It's hard to achieve, and the tribe really worked extremely hard for this to come online. So 50 units there, and that is going to be the last piece of the puzzle, if you will, for these 3 projects, because now what you can look at is we're looking at low income, helping those who make, say, under $50,000, $40,000 a year, all the way up to market rate, all within one community, all within one, ecosystem of opportunity, if you will, for this fabulous community to have all of these varied options for housing, especially when we look at, how far we still have to go. 300 units is a big chunk, but there's a long way to go.
Right, but it is a great start, right? And so you mentioned that these 3 projects should be done by the fall, with folks moving in any time between the fall and the spring. So if anyone watching right now is either currently living in Petoskey and maybe they need a new situation, or if someone is hoping to move to Petoskey for a job and they need a place to live, when can they apply for these units?
So what's even more exciting is right now, the Victory Square project is taking applications. They're doing that right now currently through a Facebook portal and a couple other places. You can always reach out to the chamber. We have access to those as well. So they are currently taking applications. Lofts at Lumber Square will be taking applications within the next couple of weeks at least. And Maple Block is already building an email list for applications as well. So all 3, you have the opportunity to get your name on a list, or at least get the first steps into applying. We expect by August that we'll be able to have a great representation for all of those.
Well, Nikki, thank you so much for joining us. I know there's so much more that we could talk about when it comes to housing in Emmett County, but unfortunately we are out of time. But thank you so much for giving us some more information on all of those housing projects. And we do have more information over on our website, UpNorthLive.com as well. One more story to share with you before we take a quick break. Over the weekend, tens of thousands of people rallied statewide and across the entire country. That included a rally in Traverse City, all part of those National No Kings Day protests, with millions holding signs and chanting on the streets. The events were on Saturday. That was in response to the parade in Washington, D.C. that the president hosted for the Army's 250th birthday. The event in Traverse City was hosted by Traverse Indivisible and Leelanau Indivisible. It got started at the Governmental Center. You can see people here on the streets. It included members giving speeches, and then, of course, folks just bringing out their signs and chants, making their way down through downtown Traverse City.
Rise up! Speak up for our rights! Thank you.
It's building community, it's building awareness. It's not just that people want to be together in a time like this, but by being together, we can show our friends and our neighbors that it's okay to stand out and speak out, and we want to give permission to others.
And Traverse Indivisible says more than 7,000 people attended this rally in Traverse City, but there were nearly 2,000 protests all throughout the country. So let's take a look at our question of the day related to those protests. We know that we saw that happening in Traverse City, and there were also protests held all throughout northern Michigan, Gaylord, Petoskey, Alpena, you name it, a lot of different events happening. So we wanted to know if you attended a No Kings rally this weekend. Scan the QR code on your screen right now to vote. That'll take you to our website. We have almost 500 votes as of right now. I haven't got the chance to look at our Facebook page for any comments yet, but if you haven't voted yet, make sure you vote on our website, and then you can also leave a comment over on our Facebook page or on this live stream right now. And as always, we will take a look at the final results toward the end of the show, and I'll also read a few of your comments. But right now we are going to take a quick break, but coming up next, you'll have much more on your forecast for the rest of the week, including those different scattered chances for some rain and when that heat wave that he talked about could head our way. Stay with us.
I'm Jada Johnson from Big Boys TV, and the Fish and Game Report is sponsored by Johnson's Propane.
We are kicking off the work week with some pretty nice temperatures around northern Michigan. A warm one for most of us, but a bit hazy out there. Not the sunniest, most blue skies today, but still nice that it was dry because, Joe, as you mentioned, the next couple days looks like there's a chance for some showers here and there.
Yeah, that's a good way to put that, yes. We do have a middle of the week around of what could be some heavier rain briefly, but a lot of that I think will fall overnight, Wednesday night. And then a warm up too, I think that's a big story coming up. It's about a week away, but we're looking at some really warm weather. But to your point, hazy skies, but you know, that looks a lot, listen, we love winter too, don't get me wrong, but that looks better than a cloudy January day, right? 77 hazy skies. That's outside of our studios in Traverse City, looking off to the northeast. Our three big things in weather. The first one, we are in an active weather pattern. We have a couple of fronts that will come through here this week. Also an area of low pressure. So there are rain and storm chances almost each day, but the most widespread rain chance will be late Wednesday night into early Thursday. And that could even be a situation where we get some heavy rain. And then hot weather is lurking on the horizon. We're looking at 80s and 90s perhaps late weekend into early next week. Our confidence in that scenario kind of growing. It is warm. Temperatures are in the 70s and 80s. You know, not unusual for this time of the year. Dew points are up too. We haven't shown the dew point map very often, but the higher this number is, the more tropical it feels. Now we have dew points in the 50s and 60s. But watch this. So this is last week. This is the trend on the dew point. Yeah, we were in that dry, also cool scenario. Here's going forward what we expect, the forecast. And you can see the dew point jumps up. And by the end of the week, into early next weekend, we're looking at some very muggy weather coming in. There's the weather map. We have low pressure in Minnesota. That cold front is going to slowly roll toward our area. We already have a tornado watch, not here, no, not here, but in Minnesota and far western Wisconsin. We're not expecting any severe weather out of this situation, but late tonight, a broken line of showers and storms will approach toward morning. So we'll stop this at 8 a.m. tomorrow. You can see a few showers working through here, isolated thunderstorms. And then as our front continues to work south, it'll kick off additional storms south of Ludington toward the Mount Pleasant area. A little rain will follow that tomorrow night. And then Wednesday, we have this big area of rain. You can just start to see that off to the south. And this will come in here. This is an area of low pressure. There it is, right through Wednesday night. It looks wet, soggy, into early Thursday. And then eventually some heat's going to roll in here. And you can see that. So this is Friday. You see Traverse City's on the map there, Chicago. Watch this big ridge develop. The jet stream lifts way north, and we have, look at all that hot weather from right off Texas right up into the Great Lakes region. So if you like 90s, well, congratulations, because it looks like some of that's in the forecast. So we have very active weather, and I mentioned this, it looks like a lot of rain in this forecast, but there'll be a lot of dry time too in between. Temperatures mainly in the 70s this week, rain Wednesday night, and then that big warm up, and it looks like that will commence Saturday, but more so Sunday, Monday next week, and I do think we'll see several spots into the 90s.
Whew. All right, well, Joe, thanks so much for the heads up on that one. 1 week from today, could see temperatures in the 90s. Okay, we are going to take a quick break, but coming up next, we'll get you caught up in all the sports action from the weekend and a look ahead to some big games happening tonight. Straight ahead. High school state titles were handed out on the campus of Michigan State University this weekend. Our Cody Bear has more on that and a look at other sports highlights from the weekend.
City St. Francis took part in the Division III baseball state finals against Marine City Saturday morning. The Glads jumped out into an impressive 5-0 lead before getting into a close game, but in the end picking up the win and the state title 5-4. This was the first state title for the Gladiators on the diamond since 1990. The Tigers also in the ballpark this weekend in a rubber match with the Reds Sunday. Jahmai Jones at the plate in the bottom of the third, and he knocks it over the left field wall to get scoring started. 1-0 Tigers early. Reds would score a couple runs on Detroit, but in the bottom of the fourth when Sel Perez hits right back, literally hitting a home run, an RBI in back-to-back games for Perez. We'd stay at 2-2 for a little while. Finally in the seventh, Gleyber Torres breaks the ice. It gets past both short and third. A runner scores, and that's an RBI ground ball for Torres. Detroit goes back on top. A little later in the same inning, Riley Green at the plate. He sends it high into the air, goes far enough to hit that wall. Another run scores for the Tigers. They go up 4-2, but in the eighth inning, the Tigers would fall apart like a dollar store lawn chair. The Reds tie it, and they don't stop there. Gavin Lux gets it to the grass in right field, bringing in 2 more runs for Cincinnati, giving them the lead. And Ellie De La Cruz would increase that Reds lead with a homer in the ninth. He hit a home run in each game of the 3-game series, jumping on the Tigers like a headache on a hangover. Detroit can't overcome the deficit, losing the game 8-4 and dropping the series. They get the day off before hosting the Pirates tomorrow. The Pittsburghers had a 2-game series over the weekend in Green Bay. Traverse City fell in both games, 2 very different games Saturday and Sunday. A high-scoring 7-5 loss Saturday, then Sunday pitching one out as the Rockers won 3-1. Traverse City falls to 9-11 on the season with the losses. The Pittsburghers play the Wisconsin Rapids Rafters today. First pitch is just after 6:30. JJ Spawn has won the U.S. Open, but it did not come easy. Spawn bogeyed in 5 of his first 6 holes Sunday, but cleaned things up on the back 9 to still come away with the win. There's also a weather delay of more than 90 minutes Sunday to add to the suspense. Spawn finished the course 1 under par, the only golfer under par in the tournament. Isn't that crazy? He was trailed slightly by Robert McIntyre and Victor Hovland. A pivotal Game 5 of the NBA Finals takes place tonight. Either the Pacers or Thunder will come within 1 win of hoisting the Larry O'Brien Trophy. Things are tied 2-2 after Oklahoma City's miraculous comeback Friday night, outscoring Indiana 31-17 in the fourth quarter to win by just 7 points. Tyrese Halliburton and the MVP Shai Gilgeous-Alexander will go head-to-head again when things tip off in OKC at 8:30.
All right, that is all for sports. Thanks, Cody, for that. We'll be right back with a look at the final results for our question of the day. Stay with us.
Salon services are furnished by Epiphany Advanced Academy in East Acme.
Well, we know that tens of thousands of folks across the country rallied this weekend for the No Kings protests. There were several held in northern Michigan, so we asked if you attended any No Kings rally this weekend, and we have 524 votes. 74% voted no, 26% voting yes. We have more than 300 comments on our Facebook page, so I don't have time to look through all of those, but if you do want to leave a comment, chime in on this discussion, head over to our Facebook page, Up North Live, because we are all out of time here on Unscripted. But thank you so much for joining us. We'll see you back here at 11 o'clock tonight.